New Year! Good morning, Happy New Year. I hope everyone is excited for 2026. I know I am. But just to start us off, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I must say I have been so delightfully overwhelmed by the positive comments on my previous videos, and I am even more motivated this year to put out more videos and share with you what I'm working on in my sewing room. After morning coffee, the plan is today to tackle some of my mending pile. This is just a sample. And I want to chat about this new year, things I have planned, various goals for the channel, and in no particular order. We'll talk about last sew is standing, how I did last year. Did I survive last sew is standing in 2025? Am I going to enter again in this year? All that will be revealed. And stick around, I might even tease a couple of videos that I have planned for later this year and all that good stuff. So I brought notes with me this time so I don't ramble too much. Rambling is inevitable. Now this is going to be a fairly chatty little video, so if you have a mending pile that you've been neglecting, items around your house that need a little bit of love, you might have a shirt that's missing a button or pants that need to be hemmed, something with a little rip or tear, now is the time. Go get it and let's do it together. Sometimes mending takes a long time to get to. It is always the lowest priority item on the to-do list. I get it. The top I'm wearing is actually a dress that for a good 7 years was held together with safety pins along the side seam, and then about a year ago I spent the 5 minutes it took to just take those pins out and replace them with a seam. So none of us are perfect, but let's tackle our mending piles together. And while we're at it, for a little extra motivation, it is the fastest way to get something from an unusable condition to back into your wardrobe and fulfilling its purpose. And here's a little clip of Beau enjoying the January sunshine and snow while you go get your supplies. I'm going to get started with a pair of silk long underwear. These are vintage, and like I mentioned, the January sun and snow, it is very cold in my area, and one of the ways that I stay warm in the winter while wearing dresses and skirts is by wearing lots of layers, including under base layers like silk or merino. I find them to be the coziest and they keep me warm. But these ones split at the seam, so I need to repair that. Speaking of mending, I find mending with friends to be a really great way to get to it and get it done. My girlfriends and I had a crafty weekend a couple months back where we all got together and did crafts all weekend, and one of those crafts was mending. So we all brought things that we needed to repair and sat together and problem solved and figured out how to fix them as a group, and I find that a very, very effective way to get to all those things that you've been neglecting. So I just have some matching thread here, and we're gonna sew up that little hole while we chit chat. Now, I haven't talked a lot about mending on the channel so far. Most of my videos have been about brand new makes from scratch, start to finish. And while that might be the majority of my content, I actually spend the majority of my time repairing things. Or at least that's how it feels. Whether it's sewing on a button or upcycling something like the linen skirt I'm wearing is something that I bought at the thrift store and altered to make it fit my body better. Things like that, I am always fixing things. As the collector and steward of many vintage items, I find myself repairing a lot of things that just due to age, they need some love. I am unwilling to throw something away if I think I can fix it, and sometimes I have a little bit of an over-ambitious appetite for what I think I can fix. So mending isn't limited to clothing items, so that is the primary area where I have the most confidence, but I will often try and fix things around the house to keep them in use, and especially if it's something that I love, I want to make sure I'm taking care of it and maintaining it so it lasts as long as possible. Now, speaking of vintage items, I don't buy a lot of new clothes. That means that if I am buying something sort of modern or new, like these yoga pants over here, I buy them at the thrift store. That includes clothes and housewares, furniture. I'm very much conscious of the fact that there is so much stuff on this planet already, and we will never run out of stuff. So I don't think we need to be encouraging mass production of more clothing. So I'm a huge fan of Marketplace, thrift stores, swap meets. When my girlfriends and I got together for a craft weekend, a clothing swap was part of that. So we all got to swap clothes and each bring new things into our wardrobe. When I was developing my personal style as a teenager, I would go to the thrift store because it was lower investment. I could get new clothing and try them out without spending a ton of money. And I guess I've just kept that on in my adulthood of being incredibly thrifty. And I must acknowledge that I come from a place of privilege where I can wear mended clothes without that having a negative impact on how people treat me, and that may not be the case for everybody. So there are ways to invisibly mend things so they are cared for and last longer without anybody having to know about it, if that's something you're concerned about. But yeah, I've always bought things secondhand. I don't believe in buying new things just because they're new and shiny. When I say I like a new shiny thing, usually it's part of that shininess is the thrill of the find, of finding something at a thrift store that can add value to my life without a huge cost associated, which means I'm often acquiring things that have already been worn to a certain extent and need repair in order to continue to be worn. And I'm quite accustomed to that. But even if you buy brand new clothes from the shops, whatever those shops happen to be, they're often mass produced in factories where quality and care aren't necessarily taken. So you may find that the buttons on your shirts are always coming off. That's because they're sewn by machine and they're not sewn on particularly well. They're not meant to last a long time because those shops know if your button falls off and you just don't get around to replacing it, you're more likely to buy a new shirt. So I like to uninfluence people from buying things and make their clothes that they do have last forever. So yeah, that's a bit about my mending philosophy behind why I take the time to care for the things that I own. And there we have it. So just a few minutes later, this is repaired. It's not the tidiest stitching, but it is going to be a literal undergarment. No one's going to see this but me. So I did a running back stitch across the seam where it had torn and then a blanket stitch over that to keep it all from fraying. So that's done. Awesome. Success. I think next, because I was talking about vintage clothes, let's move on to this green wool dress. I bought this at a garage sale in my neighborhood. I love this dress. It is a 1960s handmade wool dress, and I've gotten a ton of wear out of it this winter and this past fall because it's cozy, but it's still pretty light. It comes with a matching belt, which is very exciting. A lot of vintage dresses have since lost their accessories, but this really seals the deal for me. If a dress has the matching accessories, I have a hard time resisting. This dress has that broad collar and a really interesting pleated back section, and it's just got a metal zip up the front. This was in my mending pile when we had our girls' weekend because the snap needed to be sewn back on. So now that that's fixed, I've worn it a bunch more and discovered a couple other areas that need some love. So in this case, the hem of the cuffs are coming undone around the sleeves. And just something to note about collecting and wearing and loving vintage items, I'm accustomed to repairing them a lot just because they're old. Like, they've lasted so long because of the quality of their construction. I'm always so impressed at how well vintage garments hold up, but sometimes the thread will just disintegrate. That happens. But because this garment has lasted this long, I think it's really important to continue that tradition and keep it going. When I thrift vintage garments, I do look at things like the hem and the buttons and make sure that it has all of its bits, because sometimes there are repairs I'm willing to do, and then there are projects that are just going to be quite a bit more work to bring them back to life or to maintain them. But I find that it's the threads that fall apart and not necessarily the garment itself. So if you're willing to sort of go across all the seams that are coming loose and repairing each of those, it doesn't take too long to make that thing wearable again. So I'm just going to do what's called a herringbone stitch to keep that hem in place. A herringbone stitch is invisible from the outside and has a little bit of movement to it. So it's a little bit flexible, which is great for those high friction areas like the hem of your sleeve or the hem of the dress. While I'm at it, I will check to see if the hem needs some repair because, I've already got my needle threaded with matching thread. May as well take that extra step to check if it needs a repair anywhere else. A lot of my mending happens by hand because it's something that can be social. So I will sit in front of the TV with Pat and mend something. Actually, the inspiration for this entire video came from me sitting on the couch next to him, and I was mending a jacket that I've been wearing for 2 years with a fur collar just like loosely pinned to it with safety pins. And I decided that that had to go. I had to do something better than that. So I took the time to just stitch it all down into place. And the moment it was finished, just like the dress I'm wearing, I thought, why did I wait so long and suffer through safety pins or something that wasn't quite working when a repair really doesn't take all that long? Live and learn. Oh wow, someone has already repaired this once. I see 2 different colors of thread in here. See? Back in the day, people took way better care of their items. And even though only a part of the sleeve cuff is coming undone, I am going to stitch all the way around because I'm here. It doesn't take that much longer. The expression, a stitch in time saves 9. I don't know if you've heard that phrase, but it comes from back in the day when men's shirts typically had 9 buttons. And if one was coming loose, it was worth your while to secure all 9 of them. So a stitch in time saves 9. And I like to apply that philosophy to any mending where if I'm already here and you see potential for future damage prevention, just do it. You're already there. Okay, so that about does that for the sleeves. This dress that I love wearing can go back in my wardrobe and continue fulfilling its purpose, which is keeping me warm and cozy in the winter. Next, I have a pair of yoga pants that I thrifted that I got a discount on because they had a little rip in them. So they have these stirrups on the bottom. And since I'm tall, these fulfill the purpose of making them longer for me. I will keep the little opening just in case I want to tuck those under my feet, but one of the stirrups is ripped. So this will be hopefully, don't trick yourself into thinking something's going to be quick because that's when things get frustrating in my experience. So let's do that one while we talk about Last Sewist Standing. I'm sure you're all dying to know if I survived. Most of you probably don't care, but just for entertainment value, let me provide a little update. So Last Sewist Standing is a no fabric buying challenge that I participated in last year. It's on your honor, but the purpose is to publicly sign up and not buy fabric for an entire year. There are multiple categories of the challenge. There's the heavyweight and lightweight, as well as independent. So heavyweight means you don't buy anything, no fabric, no notions, no nothing, for a year. And it's tough, let me tell you. There is also the lightweight category where you can buy trims and patterns and linings, like finishing bits that you might need to complete a project, as long as the main body fabric comes from your stash. And then there's independent, where you can kind of make up your own rules. So different people might have different goals, and you can make up your own little challenge. So I went cold turkey. I competed, I guess, in the heavyweight category. And you're really just competing with yourself to see, can you stick to the goals that you set at the beginning of the year. The challenge runs from mid-February to the end of December every year. And I learned a lot. Let me just start with that. I learned so much about my fabric buying habits, and by that I discovered they are actually my fabric buying impulses. I have no impulse control when it comes to fabric buying, especially when I'm at the thrift store. I thrift so much of my fabric, and part of the reason for wanting it is the scarcity mindset of it only exists right here, right now. I'll never be able to find it again, and it's a good deal. I should buy it now before this limited time offer expires. All those things. And those are a lot of the tactics that actually companies use in their marketing to encourage you to overconsume. So somehow I discovered I had internalized a lot of those misleading messages in my thrifting. So I was over-consuming at the thrift store, and I need to work on that. I entered the challenge because I was feeling overwhelmed by the amount of fabric I had in my stash and how I felt like I was never keeping up with all of the ideas that I had. And by ideas, I mean when I see a piece of fabric, I can visualize immediately what I want it to be. I just get this like creative surge of what I want that garment to be based on the fabric. It's like it speaks to me. Therefore, I have this like long mental to-do list of project ideas with the corresponding materials. I already have the materials and just have not gotten to them. So by not buying new fabric for a year, I was able to discover how quickly a new shiny thing, such as secondhand fabric, can jump in front of all my other priorities, and that new shiny project is more exciting, more interesting than all the other shiny projects I have lined up. And I discovered I don't actually sew through that much of my stash in a given year. I sew as much as I can because I love it, but I'm not a factory. I'm not trying to pump out garments. I'm trying to make things that are high quality. But I think having survived the challenge for the year and not bought fabric, I am still overwhelmed by the amount of fabric that I have. So I have not been particularly responsible with my fabric purchasing, and that's something I need to contend with and work through. So I'm not done learning or growing, but it was an incredible experience. So the million-dollar question, did I survive? Did I make it to the end of the year without buying fabric? Almost. I got so close. So I was faced with an offer I could not refuse. So I was scrolling on Marketplace. I think I've just admitted to having a Marketplace addiction. Anyways, there was a woman who was selling entire rolls of fabric, a white linen blend. And I recognized she had the same last name as my boss. The next time I was in the office, I asked my boss, I was like, so do you know this person? And she's like, oh yeah, that's my mom. And I said, so what's the deal with the linen? And she said, oh my God, don't get me started on the linen. So it turns out my boss's mom bought bolts and bolts of fabric at Oxen and then had nowhere to store them and had to rent a moving van and a storage unit to move and store them. So it's been a whole thing. And my boss said, yeah, just make her an offer. You know, what do you have to lose? And I knew I wasn't supposed to be buying fabric, but this seemed like an investment, right? Any excuse. Don't threaten me with a good time. So I offered her $100 for a bolt of fabric, and it's 112 yards, or 112 meters, I can't remember, of white linen blend fabric. And I snuck it into my house under the cover of darkness because I was rather ashamed of myself. It was early November, so I made it 10 months out of the year. So I hauled this massive roll. It's almost as tall as I am, and it weighs about 80 pounds. So I wrapped my arms around it like a big old log and lifted it like 2 inches off the ground and shuffled it into the house. I'm not going to pull it out right now because it's huge, but I do have plans for things I want to do with that. Will I ever use all of it? Who knows? But for less than $1 a meter, I could not resist. So, other than that, I've been very good, and I've learned a lot. And I think maybe it's time I host like a fabric swap and find new homes for the things that I'm not necessarily going to use. I think I won't be participating in the heavyweight category this year. My plan is to continue building those philosophies into my fabric buying. Oh, also, I went to Toronto and I went to the fabric district with a very good friend of mine, and we went to about 5 or 6 fabric stores. Yes, there was lots of beautiful things, but I was not tempted to buy any of them because I know if I bring in a new thing, that'll reshuffle all the priorities and I won't get to the things that I actually want to make. So I will continue to mitigate my fabric buying, but I won't stop myself from buying the things that I need to make a project complete. So basically the lightweight category. We're learning. We're growing. It's great. All right, we are getting places with this mending pile. I'm going to save this one for later. That requires a sewing machine. But speaking of challenges and speaking of mending, if challenges help you achieve your goals, if a little bit of social pressure or a little bit of social accountability helps you get things done, it's very effective for me. This I have learned. Right now, there is a challenge called Winter of Care and Repair. It's on right now. The idea is from the winter solstice to the spring equinox, so those sort of darkest, winteriest days of the year. The idea is to care for and repair the items that you own, whether that is fixing something around the house, some mending, and you don't need to complete an entire project each day. The idea is to make small steps towards repairing the items that are bothersome to you or could be used in a better way in your home. And that extends beyond mending clothing items. So for example, right now I have Beau's winter booties, and yes, they are on elastic suspenders that I hastily threw together one year when he was a puppy, and they've served us well ever since. There is a little hole in 2 of his booties, and they bring snow into them, and it makes his paws very uncomfortable. So I'm going to replace these with new ones that I found at the thrift store in his size by some miracle. So the winter of care and repair, even if on day 1 you just sort of collect the materials needed to make a repair, or if you need to run to the hardware store to get a specific kind of glue, that counts as a step towards a repair. And it just makes you more aware of the difference you can make in your own life to care for the things that you rely on, all in favor of sustainability, essentially. So yeah, if you are the kind of person who likes a challenge and wants to get to their mending pile that never seems to end, the winter of care and repair might be a fun challenge for you to look into. Oh, and the other thing is Beau's winter coat. I got this at the thrift store. It has a really cute little hood that snaps on, but that little hood has torn away from the body of the garment, so that just needs to be tucked back in and sewn shut. I might do that first because that feels a little simpler while I chit-chat. I mentioned I wanted to talk about my goals for 2026. This time of year is always like new beginnings. I set quite a few goals this year, and I'd love to share some of those with you. So number 1, my North Star this year is consistency. Every year for the last 2 years, ever since I launched this channel, I would post a ton of videos at the beginning of the year. By a ton, I mean like 3. And then I would get tired and immediately fall off for the rest of the year. So this year, my goal is to post 1 video a month. And y'all are going to hold me to it because a little bit of accountability really gets me motivated. So what I mean by that, I don't mean post 12 videos. I mean post a video 1 per month. Keep it consistent, spread them out across the year, and just be more consistent. I don't have another word for it. For me, that seems like an achievable goal because there is a really big backlog of projects that I have filmed and just haven't gotten around to editing and posting. So some of the things that I'll be sharing are from the last year or so, maybe even the last 2 years. I think I've got lots to share and lots of really great ideas that I want out in the world, and it's my plan. For that goal, I will say that a YouTube short counts as posting a video because it might surprise you how long those take to produce. They seem easy, and if anything ever looks effortless, it's because there's so much work going on behind the scenes to make that happen. So don't lose sight of that. I also want to get better at filming and editing. That is the new skill that I've been adding to my skill set for the last couple of years, ever since I launched this channel. And that means being gentle with myself when that stuff is hard, because it is okay to be bad at something new. I'm going to say it again. It is okay to be bad at something new. Easy enough to say to somebody else, really, really hard to learn that as someone who strives for, not perfection, but I have very high standards and I want to do really, really well at anything that I do. So part of that goal is to embrace the learning and the challenges and just rest assured that every video of mine will get better and better as I learn and grow. We have to stretch and sometimes feel a little bit of pain in order to grow. I think a lot of those videos that I filmed and didn't edit are that way because I would rather spend time doing the thing I'm good at, sewing, and spend less time getting frustrated at the new skill that I'm trying to learn, video editing. So often those things just don't get the love on the editing side because it's hard. And this year I'm hoping to work on that. Haven't figured out how, but we'll get there. Other goals for this year, I've got some new videos in mind. So you may have noticed I have a true vintage simplicity pattern cabinet behind me. It's an authentic simplicity pattern cabinet from who knows what department store. I found it on Marketplace, of course, and I found it 2 years ago, and I had every intention of sprucing it up, of organizing all my patterns, and it just like never happened. It's still something I want to do. It's just, again, not as exciting as a brand new outfit, but will facilitate a lot more efficient sewing in the future. I wanted to find out from all of you, how do you organize your patterns? Help a girl out. Comment below, because right now I have them organized by brand, which means I end up digging through every single row of patterns in order to find something, and that's not quite working for me. So do you organize them by pattern type, by like garment type, dresses, pants, tops, whatever? then how do you categorize patterns that have multiple garment types? Like I've got a pattern that includes a top, shorts, an overskirt, a bolero. Like where do those live? Do you organize them by your favorites, by era? I've got quite a few different decades going on. I've got lots of patterns from the 50s, 60s, and then modern reproductions of vintage patterns, and then also a bunch of modern patterns. So yeah, I'd love to hear how you all organize your patterns, and then as a team, we can figure out a system that works better than what I've got right now. I also bought, was it last year or 2 years ago, a giant box of vintage zippers, still in their packages, like dead stock, and they're in all sizes, all colors. Most of them are metal zippers, but again, I had every intention of organizing them nicely in this thing, but have yet to do so. Right now they're still in a box and I need to dig through it every time to find something. So how do you organize your zippers? Is it by color, by length, by weight, by type, like separating zippers versus invisible zippers? I would love to know how the Brain Trust over there organizes their zippers. And I'll include that in a future video of how I end up organizing them so that it can be a much more user-friendly experience than digging around in a dusty cardboard box that smells delightfully of attic and dusty antique store. But, you know, if you know, you know. I teased in my Everything I Made in 2025 short, which I'll link somewhere, that I want to do some home renovation videos this year. One of them is actually already underway, and I just, again, have not gotten around to sharing it, so my bad. I haven't really added a ton of personality to the decor of the house. It was built in 1922, so I love character that came with the house, but I think there's definitely opportunity for me to add a little bit more of my style to the space. So more on that soon. My home renovations will kind of be unrenovations of sort of making my home step backwards in time stylistically. Sorry, there's so many of Beau's dog hairs on this thing and now they're all stuck to my face. But yeah, stay tuned for some of those. Again, stepping outside my comfort zone. Those home renovations will test me, but it'll be fun, and it's something I've wanted to do since I moved in and just haven't done. Another goal of mine is to be a little more consistent, or maybe just a little bit more deliberate on Instagram this year. I would love to post more outfits of the day as living proof that I do indeed dress like this anytime I leave the house, with some notable exceptions like going to rehearsal or the gym and the occasional dog walk. But yeah, so I want to post a little bit more over there. And if you're interested, you can find me at Twirl in Time on Instagram. I have a couple of highlights saved of some past projects like tablecloth and bedsheet dresses, as well as my silk and silver dress that has been getting a lot of attention in my Everything I Made in 2025 YouTube short. Hop on over there and see what I've got going on. So, needless to say, I'm excited for 2026. I've got big plans. I want to do a ton of projects and share as many of them as possible with you without burning myself out. I'll keep plugging away at these, but I just wanted to share how excited I am for 2026 and how much it truly means to me that you are here for the journey. And I love sharing all the things that I'm working on. I learned how to sew by watching various YouTube videos and tutorials and just watching people's process from beginning to end. I found that so helpful in my sewing journey, and I just want to return the favor and sort of give back to the online sewing community and all the beautiful people out there making incredible things. And also inspired by all of you. Thank you so much for the incredible comments. It really does inspire me to do more of this. So thank you again for being here. It means the world to me. And I can't wait to read all of your comments and suggestions for what you'd like to see in 2026, including, don't forget your homework. How do you organize your patterns? And how do you organize your zippers? Please help me. I would love your suggestions. As always, thank you so much for being here. It really does mean the world to me. I will see you in 2026. Bye. What's that foot doing? You don't want to put it down?